Hello, my name is Chester Middlesworth, and I have the position at the Statesville Record and Landmark of General Manager. It's going to be my pleasure to be showing you some of the inside scenes in the newspaper operation, some of the things that we do on a day-to-day basis, putting out your daily newspaper here in Statesville. To give you a little background, I wanted to explain to you that Statesville Record and Landmark is actually a combination of three newspapers. The Statesville Landmark, which was founded in 1874, the Statesville Record, which was founded in 1931, and the Statesville Daily, which came into being about 1921. These three newspapers were combined into one newspaper, which is now known as the Statesville Record and Landmark, in 1953, when the Record purchased the old Landmark and the Statesville Daily. Statesville Record and Landmark today is the sixth oldest daily newspaper in North Carolina. Only those few newspapers in the eastern part of the state are older, and that's because the founding fathers came from the east to the west originally. Our newspaper employs 70 people. Not all of them full-time. Actually, we only employ 51 full-time people, but you'll see most of those as we go through the various operations inside the building. I wanted to now take you inside the Record and Landmark building, where you'll see the operation of a most modern offset newspaper. At the heart of the news department on the national level is the Associated Press service that we receive. Here you see the teletype machine that is turning out stories from all over the world. As it's coming across in the hard copy or reading copy, it's also coming across in a perforated tape form. This perforated tape is then used to operate our photoelectronic typesetting machines. The tape is perforated as it goes through this particular machine. Each series of dots represents one letter of the alphabet. Here is one of our most modern machines. It's an AP laser photo machine, sending us pictures from all over the world within moments after they're taken and developed. It gives us about 200 to 220 pictures a day. Of course, we're not able to use all of them. The editor will select those he wants. Here, J.P. Huskins, publisher of the Record Landmark, is seen looking over some of the Associated Press stories that have come across the wire for that morning. Now, on local stories written by our local reporters, the stories after editing are sent into the teletype setter room. Here you see Brenda Warren operating a Fairchild photo perforating machine. The tape then will also be used to operate the photoelectronic typesetting machines. Each story is numbered, and the numbers then correspond with the hard copy that the editor gets. Here's one of our latest machines. It's a compographic OCR scanning machine. The reporters write up their stories on IBM Selectric 2 typewriters. The stories are then read by the OCR machine and transmitted onto the television screen. Here the operator will be making any changes designated by the editor. The tape you see now being transformed from the raw tape into
phototype. Here, a Visual Setter 2, a very fast, high-speed operating machine, is reading the tape and actually photographing what the message is on the tape onto photographic film. This particular machine is so fast it will produce the entire New York Stock Market Exchange list in a matter of 4 minutes. Here you see the finished product after it was developed. On the advertising makeup, we also transmit the material that's contained on the layout into a perforated tape. The perforated tape has a lot of codes in it, which actually change the size and style of type depending on the code called for by the operator. The operator is then puts the tape in through a special 9000 compographic machine that is designed primarily for display advertising. We also have a terminal that operates directly into the 9000 machine and sending display advertising messages to the machine to produce various sizes and styles of type. One of the most essential parts of the newspaper is the proofreader. Betty Morton is shown checking an ad for any errors that might occur. She checks the original copy with the finished layout. She does the same thing with the news stories. The news stories are proofread as well as the ads.
Well, this is our visual graphics camera here, and on this camera we can shoot ads to make them smaller or to make them larger or to shoot them the same size. We can either shoot them 50% up to 200%. And according to the lightness or the darkness of the picture that we take, we set a timer here, and the timer determines whether the picture is darker or lighter. And you can shoot ads or anything that you want to either make smaller or larger, anything that you need to shoot. It's just like a camera in itself. You run it through the developer, fixture, and everything is in there, and as it comes out, it dries itself and is ready to use shortly after it comes out of the machine.
Harvey Emerson is our mechanical superintendent and is shown on a 7000 compographic typesetting machine. This particular machine is designed to set the larger head type and the larger display advertising type. It goes from 14 point up to 72 point, 72 being the headline. Here you see a variation of sizes and styles of type that he has just set on the 7200 machine. It comes out in strips like this, photographic strips that are cut apart and pasted on the finished page. Each page has a layout designed by the various editors. The editor will line out the particular page and indicate which stories go where on that page. The layout people then take that layout and paste in the various elements of the page. The advertising goes in first, then the news. Now, each page has to fit perfectly. You'll notice the particular type is pasted down, and it can be pulled up or down. It has a slight coating of adhesive wax on the back of it, making it easy to position. That's the waxing machine he's using there, putting this wax on the back of it. Then he trims each column out. The columns are, in our particular page, 6 columns wide, and he'll put the head along with the story. Following again, the basic layout is designed by the editor. This particular page is a sports page, and Mike Owens, the sports editor, laid the page out on the small layout sheet, and then we'll check the final page paste up as it is completed. We can't have any holes on the page or any white space, so sometimes little fillers are required, as you see down at the very bottom. Mike Owens now is checking with Tony Shaver on the final paste up of that particular page. Sometimes a story will run too long, and the editor must decide where to cut the story. He may take the last paragraph or two out of the story, or as he's checking the story there, he may find that a paragraph in the middle can come out without damaging the story. He'll indicate to the makeup man what part of that story will be taken out so that it does fit properly. You see the layout and you see the finished page. The upper left-hand corner of that page is where a picture will go, and that picture will be treated a little differently downstairs in the photo offset darkroom. Here you see the blank space on the page where the picture goes. The red sheet is window material. He's pasting that in the area that the picture will be later placed on the final negative. As it is then photographed and an offset negative made from that actual layout, you'll see a clear part coming out where the red sheet of pasteboard was pasted. This is called a window. The pictures are done separately because they require a screening effect or halftone negative. Here we're taking you inside the camera room, and you're looking at the back of about a 7-foot long camera. This is called the Brown Caravelle offset camera. The film is loaded on the back. There is a vacuum frame that holds the large full-page sheet of film onto the frame, and then they close it and electronically determine the exposure of each picture or each page. Here you see the finished negative that has come out of the process room. They put 2 pages together to make 1 plate. That is a full-size sheet, and it will be then transformed from the negative onto an aluminum plate. Here you see the aluminum plate in a plate burner. Actually, there's no burning process. It's a very strong light that shines through the negative onto the plate, exposing the plate. The plate is coated each morning, making it photosensitive so that it will pick up the image contained on the negative. This is a flip-flop particular style of plate burner. Once he flops it over, then he exposes the plate and puts the plate into an automatic plate processor. This plate processor develops the plate and brings out the image that was contained on the negative. It takes about 2 minutes to run through this plate processor. There are some pads and brushes inside the processor that rub across the plate, putting the various chemistry on the plate, which brings out the image. Once it goes through this process, then the plate is ready for crimping or bending so that it will fit on the press properly, and it's ready to go to press. You'll see that process as they take the plate out of the plate processor and move it into the press room, ready for today's press run. Each plate contains 2 pages, and each unit of the press can print 8 pages. That particular plate is almost all aluminum. It's 9,000
and I work in
inch
the press
thick.
room and a camera room. And I work in the press room and a camera room of the newspaper. And once the plate is made, it comes out looking like this. It's a finished aluminum plate. We put it in this plate bender and crimp the ends so that it will lock on to the plate cylinder. Now over here is a unit of the press. We have 6 units plus the color deck. And this press will print 48 pages. Right here is the plate cylinder of the press. This cylinder right here holds 2 plates, which is 4 pages. These rollers above it are all the ink train rollers. All these rollers below it carry water up to the plate. Now on the image area of the plate, the ink sticks to the image area and the water washes off the non-image area. And then from the plate cylinder, the image is transferred over to the blanket cylinder. It's a rubber blanket, and this rubber blanket prints onto the web, which is a sheet of paper that moves continuously through the press unit. Okay, right now we're hooking the tail end of the plate into the plate bar. Okay, ready. We inch this plate around. We use a wrench to open up the plate clamp and then lock the other plate on there. We do this the same way on all the units of the press. Okay. The plates lock automatic. And now we're throwing the rollers on the press. The press unit is now ready to print.
Our assistant TV camera woman was given the privilege of pushing the start button for the press this day. She starts it slowly, and as she holds her finger on the start button, it inches up faster and faster and faster, moving the papers through the press at a speed up to 40,000 copies an hour. We rarely run that fast. Our running speed generally is about 36,000 copies an hour. As it's coming through the folder unit, it is automatically cut, trimmed, and folded, delivering the papers from the folder unit out into the circulation department. As the press builds up speed, the papers are checked for proper ink distribution, color, and for clarity of print. As you see, the plate is getting first a coating of water and chemicals, then with the upper unit getting its ink coating, depositing this image onto the center cylinder or the blanket cylinder, which offsets the ink onto the paper. Generally, we run the press approximately 50 minutes a day. Takes that long to run off the 18,300 copies that we print each day. The press, as you see it, is valued at approximately $1 million. As the press is running, the noise level is pretty high, so you saw that man wearing earmuffs. Papers coming out into the circulation department then are distributed to the various carrier boys around the area. Here we're inserting a particular larger part of the paper into another section, or we're also using the automatic inserting machine. This particular inserting machine takes the basic paper of the day and inserts sections into it. Advertising Director John Kaiser is finishing up the final paste up of an ad that will be scheduled for a later day issue. Here you see he's taking some phototype and making a correction on this particular ad. He's pasting over the original copy and changing some element of that particular ad, using a razor blade to trim it closely. Once the ad is ready to go, then he'll write up an order sheet and schedule it on the manifest for the particular day that it will run. The advertising department is divided into two particular departments: the display advertising, which are the larger ads like the one he's working on, and the classified or one ad department. This is the order sheet that will accompany the ad through its course, going through the composing room and into the final paste up of the page. Now, in the advertising department, we have a wide variety of art books. Here, one of the ad assistants is taking a catalog that contains literally thousands of different illustrations of drug products, over-the-counter drug products, and pasting it on the original layout that will be used for setting the final display ad. In an ad like this, you may have as many as 24 different illustrations ranging from toothpaste to shaving cream. And we have current books that give us the very latest information and illustrations of these products. These are called art books. Most anything we want to illustrate in our advertising department we can find contained somewhere in the art books. We receive two different art services. The display advertising people are in constant communication with the retail advertiser, calling on customers daily and checking on their advertising requirements, suggesting ways that they may improve their business through advertising in the Record and Landmark. One of the more important items of the newspaper's business is scheduling advertising, being sure that it's on the schedule sheet so that it can be placed in the dummy layout. Schedule sheet is also essential because from that sheet all the billing takes place, depending on what actually ran in the paper. The front desk of the newspaper, the reception area, also is the classified service. Here a customer comes in and is placing an ad with one of our 3 classified ad takers. The ad is typed up using specific codes indicating the length of time and the category that the ad will be placed under. Once the ad is finished, then it is double-checked by the customer to be sure that everything is correct in the ad, and of course scheduled and sent into the composing room for typesetting. In a day's time, there are probably 100 different ads taken by phone or in person. Office manager Carol Rimmer operates a very new type of automated accounting machine. This is the Burroughs 9000. Managing editor Jerry Josie is the heart of the news department. From his desk, he directs the activities of the reporters and the photographers on a daily news basis. Each reporter has a specific beat assignment and covers that beat each day, plus other assignments given to the reporter by the managing editor or news editor. Sports editor Mike Owens has his own little world in covering a great variety of sports in all of the high schools and the colleges throughout the area. He's assisted in this task by a number of stringers who help gather the news, the various sports scores and activities on the sports scene. On the social desk, Sylvia Williams and Ada Thomas function to supply news of the woman's world or the social world. Much of their tasks include writing up weddings and engagement stories and bridal parties. Nancy Davis is one of the beat news reporters whose stories are daily contributions to the news department. Daryl Hathcock is another reporter who covers the Mooresville area in South Iredell, along with some of the law enforcement beats, checking with the sheriff and the police department daily. Here is inside the news photographer's darkroom. There are two enlargers that are used so that two people can work inside the darkroom at one time, a Durst enlarger and an Omega enlarger. There's another darkroom to the right, which is the film developing darkroom. Film is processed, developed, and then the finished prints are made in this darkroom. We use a Kodak processor for rapid output of the finished print. This is the original masthead of the Landmark, and here is one of the early editors and publishers, Joseph Caldwell, 1880 to 1892. He was followed by Mr. R.R. Clark, who was the editor and publisher in the 1900s up until about 1920. Chester Middlesworth came along with the Statesville Record and was the editor until his death in 1947. Pegram Bryant had the Landmark and the Statesville Daily until. And here is the masthead of the Statesville Daily Record, reminiscent of the old days of hot metal. We thank you for letting us share some of the experiences of putting out a daily newspaper. We welcome tours at any time. Please call our office for scheduling of tours for various groups.